चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदामयं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुश्वेतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सवधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुवेव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। Hare Krishna. Okay, so last time in the discussion, Mataji had covered till here. We saw last time that how our actual Sanatan Dharma of the living entity is to serve, to engage in service, and the perfection of that service is when we engage in the service of the Lord. So that is the actual Sanatan Dharma, or the real Dharma of the living entities. And that's how we can be actually happy. Otherwise, we cannot. And the example given was the stomach and different other parts of the body. If I provide food to my stomach, then all the parts of my body will get nourishment and work nicely. If I don't put food into my stomach, then all the other parts of the body will also be starving. So this thing was covered last time. So today we'll see from here. Okay, Mataji, are you available to read this much?
Yes.
Okay.
The Lord descended to this mortal world to show his pastimes in Vrindavan, which are full of happiness. When Lord Sri Krishna was in Vrindavan, his activities with his cowherd boyfriends, with his damsel friends, with the other inhabitants of Vrindavan, and with the cows were all full of happiness. The total population of Vrindavan knew nothing but Krishna. But Lord Krishna even discouraged his father Nanda Maharaj from worshipping the demigod Indra because he wanted to establish the fact that people need not worship any demigod. They need only worship the Supreme Lord because their ultimate goal is to return to his abode. The abode of Lord Sri Krishna is described in the Bhagavad Gita, 15 chapter, 6 words. That I can't read this Hindi. That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, would you like to read, or maybe you can practice by yourself later the verses, because it will help to get that confidence to read the verses.
Okay. Can I try?
Yes,
Na
please.
na tad bhayasyate saryo na sasanko na pavaka यद गत्वा न निर्वर्तन्ते तद धर्मा धमा परमम mama.
Haribol. Yes, it was
Haribol.
nice. It was great. So this is just it will help us like a practice. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Okay.
Okay, so here what else Srila Prabhupada is mentioning? The Lord descends to this mortal world to show his pastimes in Vrindavan, which are full of happiness. Specifically, his Vrindavan pastimes are the most relishable. It is said that Krishna never takes even one step out of Vrindavan. When he goes to Mathura, Dwarka to exhibit his other pastimes, he goes in his Vasudev form. But Krishna is always residing in Vrindavan. Even if we go to Vrindavan, physically, of course, we are taking a ticket and going to Vrindavan or taking a cab or bus to Vrindavan is not actually um, entering Vrindavan. It's just like a shadow of Vrindavan. We're going to shadow of Vrindavan. Actually, we can enter into Vrindavan when we develop that mood, and that comes by the mercy of the spiritual master. We can actually enter into Vrindavan. So, anyways, the pastimes of the Lord, specifically in Vrindavan, they're all full of happiness and joyful, and the actual ecstasy. What is there in Golok Dham, that is exhibited in his pastimes in Vrindavan. When Sri Krishna was in Vrindavan, his activities with his cowherd boys, boyfriends, and damsel friends, the gopis and mothers over there. So everything, the cowherd boys, everything that it was full of happiness. Even the cows, the monkeys, and all, they were always in ecstasy. Everybody was absorbed in Krishna. The total population of Vrindavan knew nothing but Krishna. Any problem comes, anything comes, Krishna. As soon as the sun is about to rise, something, or even if while sleeping, the friends of Krishna, they would be just thinking, oh, when we are going to go to Krishna and go together to play or to do this or that, fully absorbed in Krishna. But and in that pastime, there is the Govardhan Leela. When the Govardhan Leela pastime is exhibited, what happens there? The Krishna sees that okay, Nand Maharaj and other cowherd men, they are all arranging for some yagya something. So when he inquires about it, he's told that it is for Indra. They are doing yagya because Indra is said to be the he gives the rain. So, but there Krishna puts forward his arguments and all, that why we need not they need not worship Indra. Rather, why don't they go and worship Govardhan? And that's how everybody went and worshipped Govardhan. And from that time till now, the Vaishnavas continue this Govardhan Puja. Every year we have Govardhan Puja. So Krishna personally exhibited that there is no need to worship demigods, because Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and all demigods are like, just like we have prime minister and there are cabinet ministers and all. So prime minister is the head, and the cabinet minister, they are all working under him or as per his instructions and all. So if the cabinet minister is pleased or satisfied and all, then other, I mean to say, when the prime minister is happy with the work or pleased, so on, then the other ministers or whoever is working under him, they will automatically be sanction the things. So in a similar way, when we just please Krishna, then everybody else or demigods and all, they are also pleased. And demigods, they are living entities like us, but because of their previous pious activities, and they are more qualified to take that particular post of a demigod, Indra Dev, Surya Dev, Chandra Dev, whatever, they are more qualified, so they are put in those posts. So one should understand that one should be convinced rather, because we know we all come from background, at least I come from background, worshipping the different demigods and all. But there was no clear distinction in many cases. in most of the people in India specifically, if I say that okay, Krishna is the supreme personality of goddess, everybody is treated equally, but that's not so. Krishna is the supreme and everybody else comes under him. So they need not worship they need only worship the supreme lord, because their ultimate goal is to return to his abode or the spiritual world. Now there's a little description of the Golok or the spiritual world. न तद्भाष्यते सूर्य न शशांक न pavaka yadgatta nannivatante tadhama paramam mamam. This will come across in the 15th chapter. That supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So in this world where we are right now, we need sunlight even to see. Even our eyes are useless if it is dark. I can't see. If it everything is dark, we can't see with our eyes. Even even if I'm not blind, still I cannot see. So we need sun or moon or electricity, light and all to see things, and like that, because this material world is like a um, it's completely opposite to spiritual world. Whereas in the spiritual world, there is no need of some external object like this. It is always illuminated by the effulgence coming from the transcendental body of the Lord. And when one goes back to that spiritual world, they will never return back to this material world. Hmm? So that assurance that Krishna is mentioning here. Okay, let me read this verse. This paragraph. This verse gives a description of that eternal sky. So this Prabhupada is mentioning about this particular verse. Eternal sky. Of course, we have a material conception of the sky and we think of it in relationship to the sun, moon, stars, and so on. So obvious, as per our concept, sky means okay, there are birds are flying, there are stars and moon in the at night, and in the daytime we see the sun. That is for us, sky means that. But in this verse, the Lord states that in the eternal sky there is no need for the sun, nor for the moon, nor electricity or fire of any kind, because the spiritual sky is already illuminated by the Brahma Jyoti. Brahma Jyoti means what? The rays emanating from the Supreme Lord. So, from his transcendental body. Why transcendental? His body is not material like us, it's spiritual. So, from his transcendental body, that effulgence, the rays that are coming, so that lights the whole spiritual world, which is called Brahma Jyoti. We are trying with difficulty to reach other planets, but it is not difficult to understand the abode of the Supreme Lord. So, yeah, from the scientific point of view, they are trying to reach Mars, to reach the moon, to reach Mars, and so on. But there is actually a method for it. And similarly, there is actually a method to reach the spiritual world, spiritual sky. This abode is referred to as Goloka or Golok Vrindavan also is said. In the Brahma Samhita 5.37, it is beautifully described. Goloko eva nivashati akhilatma bhuta. The Lord resides eternally in his abode, Goloka, yet he can be approached from this world. And to this end, the Lord comes to manifest his real form, Sachidananda Vigraha. So, of course, he is always residing in the spiritual world in Golok Dham. At the same time, he is also present here, because he is not like, if I am present, if I am sitting in a particular room, I cannot be present in the shop or in the other room or somewhere else. But the Supreme Lord, he is personally present in the spiritual world. At the same time, he is also present everywhere. Actually, because it may seem inconceivable for us, because our from our sense perception, we cannot perceive things. That's why the Lord is actually unconceivable. his energies, potencies, we cannot conceive, we cannot think about it by our, with our tiny brain. But we can understand from the scriptures that he resides in his Golok Dham. At the same time, he's present everywhere, and we can actually approach him even if he's so far, far away in the spiritual sky. We can approach him in the from here. When he manifests this form, there's no need for imagining what he looks like. To discourage such.
Sorry to interrupt, Mataji. What is the meaning here of Sachidanand Vigraha?
Okay, yes, Sachidananda Vigraha means Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda means all blissful, and Vigraha means form. So the Lord is Sachidananda, He is eternal, He is full of knowledge, He is all blissful, and He has a form. He is not formless. Just like some Mayavadis, in technical terms we say Mayavadis or impersonalists, who according to whom the supreme means he is just an effulgence, just a light. So it's not so. Actually, the supreme Lord has a form. So that is described as Sachidananda Vigraha.
Okay, Mataji.
Okay. When he manifests this form, now when he descends to this material world in different avatars, in different incarnations, and specifically when he comes as Krishna. Krishna is in the Bhagavatam. There is a verse, I think, first canto, third chapter, 28th verse, if I remember correctly. I may be wrong also, the exact verse. It is mentioned, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Krishna is actually avatari. All other incarnations, Lord Ram, Varadev, Narsingadev, they are all avatars of Krishna. But Krishna is avatari, the one who takes different incarnations. He himself comes when he is in Dwapar Yuga, when he comes as Krishna. So when he manifests this form, there is no need for our imagining what he looks like. I remember in our school time, we used to have Atlas. Atlas, I think, is considered a Greek god or something like that. And he was I remember in Atlas, that front page, the cover page, there was some person, like a comic person, holding the globe and struggling to hold it. So, and some people perceive God means he's the oldest, isn't it? So he must be very old, with long beards or something like that. But no, there's no need to imagine in different form, in different ways. But Krishna himself is coming, he comes to this material world, descends to this material world to exhibit his what he looks like, what are his pastimes in actually the spiritual world. So he gives us a glimpse of what it is in the spiritual world. To discourage such imaginative speculation, he descends and exhibits himself as he is, as Shyamasundara. Unfortunately, the less intelligent deride him because he comes as one of us and plays with us as a human being. Okay. Whenever this point comes, I remember when I was working long back in Bangalore, and we were going to cafeteria, office cafeteria, for a break. When we were getting into the lift, one of my colleagues mentioned, Krishna is also a human being like us, right? She mentioned this. This was the exact statement as far as I remember. So even people in India, uh, where Krishna is like everybody knows Krishna, we feel that. But there are people who think that Krishna is just a human being. I mean, it was a little kind of shock. At the same time, I could realize why Prabhupada mentions that these kind of people do exist. So when we come across such type of people, we can relate what Prabhupada mentions in his books, that okay, these kind of people also exist really. So yeah, even during when Krishna was present, during Dwapar Yuga, the not everybody could understand that he's the supreme personality of Godhead. People like Duryodhan and all, they considered him as to be some, an ordinary person. Mm. So not everybody could understand. Only those who were in the mood of who were actually devotees, they knew that yes, he's a supreme personality of Godhead, and how he's so merciful to his devotees that he's coming and playing the role of being a friend of Arjuna, or nephew of Kunti Devi. So they glorify, in scriptures we see that those devotees, they glorify these different roles of Krishna, or his different pastimes, not exactly roles but pastimes. Okay, unfortunately, the less intelligent deride him because he comes as one of us and plays with us as a human being. But because of this, we should not consider the Lord one of us. It is by his omnipotency that he presents himself in his real form before us and displays his pastimes, which are replicas of those pastimes found in his abode. So the pastimes of Vrindavan specifically, it's just a glimpse. Before the movie is released, we they will release the trailer first, to get a thrill among the people. Oh, this movie must be very nice. So Krishna is also, he gives a trailer of what it is in the spiritual world by exhibiting his pastimes in the material world, so that some uh, people, some, at least actually to attract all the conditioned souls, uh, but somehow or other to take them back to Godhead. So the conditioned souls can feel like, oh, these are so beautiful, so nice pastimes. So they will get interest and they'll want to practice bhakti or want to go back to Godhead. So Krishna is takes so much effort to take us back to Godhead. So we'll just continue this one paragraph, small one, and then we'll stop. In the effulgent rays of the spiritual sky, there are innumerable planets floating. So now Prabhupada is giving a little description of what it is in the spiritual sky. The Brahmajyoti emanates from the supreme abode Krishna Loka, and the Anandamaya Chinmaya planets, which are not material, float in those rays. Now in the material world, um, there are different material universe, there are different universes in the um, similarly in the spiritual world there are different planets which are actually spiritual. They're not material. They're all called Vaikunthas. There's so many Vaikunthas, and the topmost of all of them is Krishna Loka, where Krishna exhibits his, or is present in his two-hand form as Sham Sundara. The Lord says, Natad bhashyate shurya na shashanka na pavaka yad gatta nivatante tad dhama paramam mama. One who can approach that spiritual sky is not required to descend again to the material sky. So once we can go back to that spiritual world, then we will not fall down again into this material world. In the spiritual sky, even if we approach the highest planet Brahmaloka, what to speak of the moon, we will find the same conditions of life, namely birth, death, disease, and old age. No planet in the material universe is free from these four principles of material existence. So, even if one may go to Swargaloka, Brahmaloka, whatever loka in the material world, these four problems of what? Birth, death, old age, and disease, this will exist. Now, for the calculation of time is different. For Brahmaloka, for example, a moment for them is like 1 year or something for earthly, as per earthly time calculation. But still, Brahmaji lives 100 years of his age, and then his then he also has to go through birth, death, old age, and disease. So everybody has to go through in this material world. Therefore, we should endeavor to get out of this cycle of birth and death, and actually take up Krishna consciousness seriously, become devotee, so that one can become qualified to go back to Godhead. Okay, with this, I'll stop here. We covered 2 3 paragraphs, I think. If you have any question, Mataji, please feel free to ask. And apart from that, you can also share some point or highlight from what we discussed today.
One thing I want to discuss, Mataji. Whenever I think of Krishna, apart from worshipping or praying, whenever I think of him, or whenever I listen about praise of Krishna, tears always come to my eyes. I don't know why, and heart feels like melting. Why this happens to me?
That's very nice, Mataji. Okay, I'll tell you. One of my aunt, she went to. I was told by someone, she went to Iskon temple for the first time, and seeing there, attending the kirtan, she was started crying. She didn't know why she was crying, and she has not taken up or practicing bhakti or anything. But she experienced something like that, you know. So now, um, if a child is lost, if a child is lost in somehow is going the parents and somehow got separated in the crowd, so the child is crying, trying to search for the parents, and moving here and there, roaming around, struggling to get little food, or now, once a child meets with the parents again, then he's so much happy, so much jolly, uh, and those tears may come at that time is also out of joy that yes, I'm back to my parents, I'm back my home. So similar way, our soul, though we do not realize, but our soul is actually crying. Our soul is actually wanting to go back to Godhead, because the food for the soul is bhakti. Just like we feed our body, we keep our body nicely. The only requirement for the soul is bhakti, Krishna. So the soul is practically um, starving. So when somehow or other one comes in contact with Krishna, some way or the other, then that internally we get those things, vibes, we may not understand it, but we can actually understand it when we go through the scriptures or hear from Sri Prabhupada, or pure devotees and all. So we get to know why it happens so, because the soul is actually wanting, it's true. If I'm put into a room and not given any food or anything, what will be my condition? Then you give a big plate of prasadam, so one will eat so joyfully and happily, finish everything in 10 15 minutes. Similarly, the soul is also wanting to practice, to get connected to the Lord. And when we are discussing, hearing, taking the names of the Lord, discussing about the Lord, then that soul is getting, we are getting that actual food. Soul is, we are providing the ourselves that food, food for the soul. So that's why we may sometimes um, feel like that or come across such kind
Uh,
of.
in the morning also, Mataji, I never woke up. I never keep any alarm for me to get up. My eyes automatically open up that now it's time for class. I don't know why this is happening.
Yeah, this is very true, Madhuji. I know, I can tell myself also, when the classes used to be at 4:30 earlier, I used to get up at 4:30 only. I mean, I would
Cause
try.
in the inner sense, sorry to interrupt, in the internal anywhere in my mind also, I don't know. I feel very happy for the association. I just want to be in that only. That many are present there. Guru Mata is discussing, you are discussing. So this make my soul very peaceful.
Yes, it is very nice, and you should attend. Why? Because the two forms of association, Vani and Vapu. Yesterday, today only I was something thinking about it, and the Vani form, when we are hearing from the authorities, that association is very important. So when we are hearing, that is also you are looking for association. We are all looking for association, devotee association, and that hearing and then trying to follow that, that is actually keeps us, tightly bound together. We are tightly together in that sense. So, yes, you please continue hearing the morning classes, and they are very, very powerful. They're not
Yes.
like, okay, you're doing bhakti. Sometimes one devotee may encourages, yeah, you're doing so nice, you're so wonderful devotee and all. But some devotee will say, what are you doing? You didn't do this service nicely, you didn't do your rounds nicely. Then we get to see our faults. If nobody will point out our faults, we'll never be able to see our faults. So always, what I have learned from Gurudev Gurmata from them is that always we should look for association of those who will mainly point out our faults. Of course, we look
Yes, yes.
association for everyone, but it's very difficult for us to see our faults. And morning classes are like, they are like, hammer on our head that wake up, what are you doing? How long are you going to be in Maya? You have to become Krishna conscious. So it's like a push. So
I
those
think
classes
someone
are very
like my
powerful.
mind is waking me up or my soul is waking me up to wake up. It's now 3:30. You have to listen, Guru Mataji.
Yeah, that is the yeah, mind. It's not actually our mind, because presently our mind is not so friendly, but actually
Okay.
we the soul, or we the living entity, we are the soul only. So we are inclined. So the super soul, Paramatma, he's inspiring. Okay, get up. So so that is very nice.
One question is also rising in my mind. Like I have 2 years old daughter, so I just want to ask that mother's love towards my child and my love towards Krishna. So I'm not able to balance that love between two of them. I think that my child is diverting me to attend like loving my Lord or like that. Sometimes this confusion comes in my mind.
Um, Actually, we have come into this material world, and whatever relations we may have in the material world, it is as per our own desires and so on. But all these relations are temporary. In our next life, somebody else will be our husband or child or mother and father and so on. Now now apart from this, is a broader view on the whole. I'm saying, now in the present situation, whatever situation we have, we should ourselves practice nicely, and find some ways that to connect everybody else, to give everybody else Krishna consciousness. So your the best thing for what you can do for your child is that you become a devotee, and seeing you, the child in future will also follow
Yes.
that. you know just like, for
Okay.
example, when the child now is too small, when he grows up, okay, you will be giving some fruit, mix or mash it or something, offer it to Krishna, and you are feeding the child, then the child is taking prasadam. Hmm.
Yeah.
And now when you are saying distracting and all, yeah, because we have by our own desires and all, or karmic reaction desires, we have entangled us ourselves so much. That's why we sometimes need to struggle to practice some bhakti. But still,
Okay.
we should accept that struggle, and um, practice the bhakti, whatever may be the ups and downs in our life and so on. Because when you will do, if the child, okay, when the child grows up, people think how I'm going to do the upbringing of the child and all. But actually, a devotee knows that if the parents, the actual rule is, whatever the parents will do, the child will follow that. If the parents will say the child, okay, don't eat ice cream, but the mother or father is eating ice cream, the child will never follow. So, what we
Okay.
will set the example, the child will follow that. So, when you are practicing Krishna consciousness, seeing you in your association, the child will follow. So, the best thing you can give for your child is Krishna consciousness. You may give material education, everything else, but that is not
Yes.
going to help so much. The actual thing is to deliver the child from the cycle of birth and death. So you
Okay.
become a serious devotee, the child will follow.
Okay, Mataji. Today I cleared all my doubts. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for your sincere inquiries. Okay, so we will close for now, and tomorrow we'll continue the next paragraph. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining and for your association. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Ram, Ram,
Hare
Hare Hare.
Hare. Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.